This is Shreyas and welcome back to another video. I am using the Pixel 8 Pro for a couple of days now, and I thought what happens when I put it against the predecessor for its camera performance. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting video, but there are some disclaimers before we move on to the samples. But putting that aside, if you like this kind of a video, definitely leave a like on the video. And without any further delay, this is Shreyas and let's check these out. Cool. First things first, what are the hardware changes? The visor kind of got a cosmetic change, but the ultrawide sensor as well as the lens actually got an upgrade in terms of sensor size and the aperture as well, which makes it accept a lot more light. Apart from that, across the board on all the three cameras over here, there has been an increase in aperture, so obviously there it lets in more light. The primary sensor upgrade is kind of a black box. Not everybody is sure which sensor it is. There is a rumor about it being the GN5 from Samsung as well. One more thing I again want to mention before going ahead is that just like in my video about the thermals and the performance of the Tensor G3 compared to the Tensor G2, which you can find up in the link out over here, the updated firmware is probably not out, so I'm not sure if the results will change or not. I could not find the editing features like best take and stuff. The Pro mode is definitely missing. This might be related to that firmware thing which I was saying, because the October patch is not live on the Pixel 8 Pro. So based on when you are watching this video, the results could vary, so that's something you should be aware of. But with all that said, let's carry on with the camera samples, and here's your look at it. In the first sample, you can see the ultra wide is way wider on the 8 Pro. The sharpness is slightly higher as well. The only difference is probably slightly in the color temperature, as the dynamic range looks more or less similar. Moving on to the primary camera, you can see almost the same picture in both the cases. Slight difference in the color temperature and slightly more contrast here on the 8 Pro according to me. You guys let me know down in the comments what you feel about it. Here again an ultra wide shot where it's wider on the 8 Pro and it looks considerably warmer as well. Not really sure what happened here. Moving on to the primary camera, the color consistency is at least there in both the cameras, the 8 Pro being slightly warmer than the 7 Pro. Here's another ultra wide shot from the 8 Pro and the dynamic range looks ever so slightly better in the bright parts near the clouds. Apart from that, the wider field of view is definitely there with some added sharpness compared to the 7 Pro. Here's another ultra wide shot and you can see definitely better dynamic range on the Pixel 8 Pro in terms of controlling the highlights especially. The rest again wider field of view and the contrastier color, but the color accuracy is kind of off because it's slightly warmer than I would like. Moving on to the primary lens, there is not a lot of difference here really. There is slight difference in the color temperature. Apart from that, everything looks almost the same. Moving on to some telephoto shots, here's a 5x shot and you can see considerably better details on the 8 Pro shot over here. Zooming into 10x, you can see that the sharpness trend continues, and when you go to 30x, you can see how the 8 Pro is considerably sharper than the 7 Pro over here. Some more telephoto shots where you can see that the theme is a bit contrastier on the 8 Pro side. The 7 Pro is less in terms of contrast, although the sharpness in the 8 Pro picture is way higher than the 7 Pro. Moving on, here's another 5x telephoto shot, but here the difference is not really visible. There's slight difference in terms of the saturation and the color of the flowers over here, but once we punch into 10x, you can see the sharpness is definitely higher on the 8 Pro, and in 30x the differences become a bit more obvious, where you can see the sharpness is definitely better on the 8 Pro. As mentioned before, the contrast being low on the telephoto shots of the 7 Pro, actually the trend continues. You can see over here it wasn't really against the light or something. The 8 Pro is a way cleaner image with better contrast and color representation. Here as well you can see the 8 Pro is slightly warmer than the 7 Pro picture, and I feel the 8 Pro is more accurate since there was direct sunlight falling on the flowers over here. And with that, let's move on to some night shots, where you can see over here again the night shot trend continues as well with better highlight control. The noise in the sky is also way lesser on the 8 Pro picture apart from everything else, and the shadows are better exposed in comparison as well. In the primary sensor, there is not a lot of difference here. There is a slight color temperature difference, the 8 Pro being slightly cooler in comparison. The highlight control is ever so slightly better than the... Moving on to the telephoto lens, here there is not a lot of difference, but I feel the flowers in the bottom half of the picture under the street lamp is kind of overexposed. I'm not really sure what happened here, but the rest of the picture looks okay in terms of highlight control. Moving on to selfies, you can see that the highlight control on my cheek is slightly better on the 8 Pro, and due to addition of autofocus and a new sensor over here, although lower resolution, the sharpness on my face is better. Moving on to portraits, the same story continues, but there's slight over sharpening on my face in the portrait mode. It is there in both of them, and the 8 Pro picture is slightly cooler as well, although skin tones are overall better. Continuing the same trend, I think the skin tones are a bit off on the 7 Pro picture over here. The 8 Pro gets it better. This is a portrait shot as well. The good part about the pixels is that in the selfie camera it gets ample wide. The sharpness is slightly better on the 8 Pro as mentioned, like the previous image over here. Since it was a gloomy day, the colors are actually slightly accurate on the 8 Pro in comparison. And coming to some human shots from the rear cameras, this is a portrait image. You can see how the cutout is uneven on both of the phones. It's not really great, but overall the 8 Pro looks more accurate because the 7 Pro is slightly warmer than usual, especially given that it was a gloomy and dark day. But the 5x lens is actually really good for catching portraits. Although it doesn't have a dedicated portrait mode, you can see the focal length is really good. The sharpness and the improvements in the telephoto lens do help how the image looks over here, and the skin tones and the exposure is definitely better on the 8 Pro as well. Alright, so now that we are through the camera samples, let me know what do you think about the Pixel's 8 Pro camera capabilities down in the comments down below. But one more major component of the Pixels and what it usually lacks in comparison to Samsung and iPhones especially is gonna be the video performance. Right now I don't have those devices to compare it to, unfortunately, but I can compare it to the Pixel 7 Pro, and here are the video samples as well. Alright, 4K 30 FPS non-HDR video on the Pixel 8 Pro and 7 Pro. This is on the ultra wide, and you can see the 8 Pro is significantly wider, just as we saw on the photos. Now let me go back and go into the primary camera of both ones and start walking. Here is the stabilization. Looks pretty good stabilization on both to me. Let's do one thing, crop into 5x directly from here, see how the transition is. Okay, 7 Pro got a bit warmer in terms of color temperature, not in terms of the chipset. And yes, I feel the 8 Pro is definitely sharper. So let's try out 10x on the 7 Pro over here and 10x on the 8 Pro. There you go. Yeah, I can clearly read the sign over there and the car number with better colors on the 8 Pro. Even if you see the background with the kids park over there, it's way more sharper on the 8 Pro. Alright, so front facing camera with speech enhancement. Now the skin tones look a little off, very slightly off on the 7 Pro. Here's some dynamic range scenario. You really can't see anything in both of them. It's pretty cloudy out there, so kind of makes sense. But yeah, wow, that's a stark difference between the 7 Pro and the 8 Pro, especially against the light. With the light towards me, it's good. Just to be clear, I think my t-shirt color is better on the 8 Pro. Looks better. Also, the screen on the 8 Pro is definitely brighter. I can see myself easily over here. Alright, so there is no night sight for video yet. Apparently, that's a future update. But here is 4K 30 FPS at night with some artificial lighting. You can clearly see there is lens flare still. Going to the ultra wide, it's worse on the 7 Pro, but yes, the 8 Pro looks comparatively cleaner. Let me know how it looks overall. Punching into 2x digital from the main camera, you can see how the sharpness is going into 5x, and the lenses did switch, although the light is pretty low. And yeah, the 8 Pro looks considerably sharper, at least on the viewfinder. Overall, let me know how the camera performance seems to be like down in the comments below. Okay, it's extremely low light, as you can see. Yeah, not that great, but when I do get a bit of light on myself, the 8 Pro looks considerably better than the 7 Pro. I don't remember them changing the sensor actually, but only adding autofocus. But yeah, looks way better over here. But anyway, with speech enhancement and a lot of background noise, let me know how the audio sounds on these phones. Alright, so now that all that's done, let me know in the comments down below if you think that the camera upgrades are significant from the Pixel 7 Pro or not. In some ways, I think you're kind of good with the Pixel 7 Pro if you're on it, but definitely compared to the Pixel 6 Pro, which had a very narrow ultra-wide lens and a few other upgrades compared to the 4x and the 5x telephoto, it could be something of an upgrade you might be eyeing compared to the Pixel 6 Pro, especially because it has had some few other iterations and polishing up in the rough edges which the Pixel 6 Pro and the 7 Pro had. But anyway, that will be covered in the full review, so make sure you subscribe for that. Thank you for watching this video for so long, and I'll catch you in the next video.